I'm done being unsure. So, yes, you are now Chief Evangelist of Canva.
Yes.
And you do a lot of other things, amongst those, your podcast. Are there any things? No, are there any things that's not even English? What are the things you like the most about evangelizing?
What I like most about evangelizing is that I fall in love with these products or these services. And besides the fact that I think it'll be good for my financial situation and my life, that they are also mutually beneficial. So, in the case of Macintosh, there's no doubt in my mind that evangelizing Macintosh was good for the other people too, the developers as well as the end users, because I truly do believe that Macintosh made people more creative and productive. Fast forward to Canva. I fell in love with Canva because Canva enables anybody to make beautiful graphic designs, which enables them to be better communicators. So, people shouldn't get this wrong because it was good for me if people use Macintosh. It's good for me if people use Canva. But I also, down to the core of my existence, I believe that Canva and Macintosh are good for the people who use it too. It's not just for me.
Yeah, okay. I like that. That's a good thing because I started working in sales quite early in my career, and I said that a good salesperson can sell anything, but if you really believe in the product, then it's much easier.
It's
So
much easier.
for it's amazing if it's also a really good product, then it's also a lot better. Is there anything about the title evangelist? Because you, if not invented evangelism, then at least you popularized it.
Yeah, well,
Is
there
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 what
was
you want?
Jesus before me.
Yeah, yeah, right. So the OG evangelist.
He's the true OG. There was a 2,000-year gap. So
Yeah,
basically, evangelism comes from a Greek word meaning bringing the good news. So if you want to be successful as an evangelist, you have to bring something that's good news. Macintosh was
absolutely.
good news. Canva is good news.
Oh,
So I think that's the key to successful evangelism. That you know, evangelism, I think, is the purest form of sales in that it has both you and the recipient's best interests at heart.
yeah, I like that. I told my sales leader, or so I still work in sales, but I said that I'm done selling now, and I just want to tell people about what we can do and how we do it, and then if that's what people want, they can buy it. But I've been using Canva now at least a couple of years, and the amazing like progression in what they offer. It's been so. Have you been a part of that journey also, or what do you do there except evangelizing?
I've been there for 10 years, and at the start, it was to be a visible spokesperson to build credibility for the company. The thinking was, Guy Kawasaki, former chief evangelist of not former chief evangelist of Apple, started all these software companies, wrote all these books, and TED speaker, Wikipedia
What
board
can
of
go wrong,
trustees,
basically?
Mercedes-Benz brand ambassador, all this stuff. It would lead credibility to a company out of Australia that was trying to, you know, change the world because
Yeah.
they weren't a Silicon Valley company and, they didn't have two co-founders from Harvard or Stanford. So that was my role, to build credibility, to provide visibility. And I did a lot of demos for people. But I think that's the key to good evangelism is good demos.
Can you remember any demos that kind of stood out that didn't go as planned, or anything that kind of story worthy?
No, every one of my
No.
demos is perfect. Nah,
Yeah, I had that figures. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, but if we go into the space time continuum, this is where we talk about past, present, and future. If you could go back in time and meet Guy, age 10, what would you like to tell him?
I would tell them, don't quit Apple. That's-
Yeah,
although,
yeah,
although, I mean, if you think about it, if I had not quit Apple and I
yeah,
was at Apple till today, well, I would have made a lot of money, but I would never have become the chief evangelist of Canva. And arguably, I have done more because I went to work for Canva than if I had stayed at Apple. Um, so I kind of have, very few regrets about that. But there are times
yeah.
I think, oh my God, if you'd stayed at Apple and you're part of a 1 trillion, $2 trillion company, life would have been pretty good too. Not that my life is not good.
Of course. No, because I'm always thinking if I could go back in time and give myself advice, would I actually listen? Were you a person that you think would listen to your older self?
Probably not.
That's what I found out as well. I think that if me now at 42 went back and talked to Hallgeir at 10, Hallgeir at age 10 would say, this old guy has lost his touch. And
Exactly. Ex-
if you look at your life and career now, what do you think Guy Kawasaki at 10 would be most impressed by then?
Cars, German
Car?
cars.
Okay, you're very much into the
That
cars.
might still be true today.
So, and do you think there are anything that he would be embarrassed about?
You mean if I go back to
No,
age
okay.
10 and look at what I've done, would I have been embarrassed?
Yeah, if Guy Kawasaki, age 10, look at you right now, if there's, because like in me, I would be so embarrassed that I have adopted my father's dad humor, like with puns and everything. And I told myself at that time I would never do that. And it's getting morphed on to become some very, yes, a big part of my core that I would be really, really embarrassed
Well,
about.
you know, it, I figured this out. So the stages in life is first when you're a little infant, your parents are all powerful, right? They control
Yeah.
everything, what you eat, where you sleep, everything. And then as you get older, you figure out that, oh, I can push the boundaries. And so you go from my parents are all powerful to my parents are clueless to, huh, my parents were right. And then the final stage is you become your parents.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's the stage I'm in. And my kids are probably thinking, my father is clueless. And then pretty soon, I hope they figure out, oh, my father was right. And then they're going to
Yes.
say, I am my father.
Yes. I remember maybe you also have that moment where you find yourself repeating the words of your parents.
All the time.
Like, yeah, yes, please don't make so much noise.
I often
Yeah.
tell my kids that I cannot wait until they have kids and they're telling their kids, clean up your room and put the water in the dishes so it's easier to wash and put it in the dishwasher. Don't just leave it on the table. And, like fold your clothes.
If you look at your life now, which of the parts are you most, what would you like to carry with you into the future?
Well, I would like to carry into the future. And listen, I'm 70 years old, so the future is
Mhm.
now. um, I would like to carry into the future intellectual curiosity.
Mm,
Basically, what Carol Dweck calls the growth mindset. And I think the growth mindset is absolutely essential for anyone who wants to be remarkable. And about a third
yeah.
of my book is dedicated to the growth mindset. So I think without a growth mindset, you're not going to be remarkable.
No, because you wrote in your book that you started surfing not that
60.
long ago. Yeah, that's how does anyone just decide? I'm curious because I used to I am the coach of my daughters. I have two daughters, 13 and 11, and I coach their handball teams. And I've never played handball myself. Age 34, I played 1 year of handball, and if you don't know, it is like the closest to martial arts you come without being actual martial arts. So it's just beating up people in nearby a ball. And that was very hard for me. And I was 34. you starting surfing, which I uh, presume is quite tiresome at 60.
Yeah.
What kind of crazy person does that?
Well, a crazy person with a growth mindset. So you
Yes.
so listen, before that, at 44, I took up ice hockey, having never skated before because, I'm from Hawaii, so there's not a lot of pond hockey and frozen lakes and rivers in Hawaii. So I took up ice hockey at 44 because my kids wanted to take it up. And then I took up surfing at 60 because my daughter wanted to take it up. And so basically I take up the sports that my kids like as opposed to make my kids like the sports that I like. And it
Of the act.
I got to
Yeah.
tell you, I can't tell you that I ever had this moment where I said to myself, Guy, you are too old to take up hockey or you are too old to take up surfing. It was just, I didn't even think twice. I just went in for now. Don't get me wrong. I never was a great hockey player and I'm never going to be a great surfer, but, but, um,
You have
I'm definitely holding my own in those sports.
good, very good. When you have a problem or a challenge up ahead, I always find it to be very interesting how people like the process they have to come up with ideas. Do you have a set process?
Well, I mean, my set process is I just keep grinding away at it. And I also believe that as of 2024,
Mhm.
between LLMs and between YouTube and
Yes.
between basically the internet, you can find out how to do anything you want, anything.
Yes.
And I
Absolutely.
often tell my kids, you know what? Every problem you have encountered has been encountered before. So, I mean,
Yeah.
at a base level, you can't figure out how to put the new HP printer on our Wi Fi network. I guarantee you, you are not the first person in the history of mankind to want to put a new Hewlett Packard printer on a Wi Fi network. So don't tell me it cannot be done at all. Just go freaking use Google, go use ChatGPT. It can be done.
Have you, what are your thoughts now, just spinning off on the LLMs and the AI? What are your, do you have any worries about it?
None at all. I mean, I think that artificial intelligence may be the last hope we have for saving humanity because humanity ain't gonna save us. And listen, people always, well, like a lot of reporters, they write these stories like, oh, I convinced ChatGPT to tell me to leave my spouse and join the circus and launch a nuclear war, and it's like, well, how many hours did you spend doing that? I mean, okay, but I could tell you, you can go to many parts of the world and people will tell you to, go destroy Congress or go destroy this or, there's lots of people will tell you to do stupid things too. So like ChatGPT is no stupider than them. But you really had to work at getting ChatGPT to do that. And so,
Yes.
whenever I get into a discussion about artificial intelligence, I tell people, listen, let's take it that this world has nuclear weapons. So somehow something has to control when a nuclear weapon is launched. So I'm going to give you a multiple choice question here. These are the choices you have about who can launch a nuclear weapon: Donald Trump, Kim Jong Un, or Vladimir Putin or ChatGPT. You pick the one. Who can launch the war?
Mm,
I would
yeah.
pick ChatGPT.
Yes, I have envisioned, or maybe I read, maybe I don't want to take credit for this idea, but the idea is that in the future, in factories, for instance, you will have one human employee and a dog employee. And the human employee, their job is to give the dog food and water. And the dog has the job of making sure that the human doesn't touch anything else. Like, everything else is optimized. I think that's a good picture of how it can be. Also, that's the thing you said, actually, where somebody has most likely solved this problem before you. If I get that all the way back to Canva, actually, that's one of the main things I think it can be used for, because if you have something that should be made, somebody has most likely made something like it. And if you build on top of that instead of
Yes.
starting totally from scratch, you get, so if you have 10 hours to do something great, if you start with something really good, then you can build from that and you can get somewhere even better than you could by yourself. I think I visited my grandparents yesterday. They are 90 and 86, and I showed them ChatGPT. My grandfather, 90-year-old, and he was looking at ChatGPT and Midjourney and just coming up with these things he wanted to see pictures of. And he was so amazed on how can this happen? Because I remember when we didn't have any phones,
Yeah.
and it was okay, then I appreciate and I agree with your take on artificial intelligence. What would you say that is the best idea that you personally has ever been a part of grinding out then?
You mean what company or product or service?
Any idea? It could be something as simple as putting the eggs before the ham in an omelet. I don't mean that's your greatest achievement, and it could be. Um, yeah, so just
Okay. I would say starting my podcast is one of the best ideas I ever had. And um, I think my podcast is the best work I've ever done. And this book, Think Remarkable, is based on
mhm,
the podcast. So it's the best
yeah,
book I've written based on the best work I've ever done. But you mentioned something about eggs, and I love that analogy. So I'll give you a power tip. Uh, if any of you make rice, like Japanese rice,
yeah,
so if you don't eat it all, you put it in your refrigerator, and then how do you get it warmed up again? And until about 6 months ago, I thought the best way was to put it in the microwave. And
yeah,
then
yeah,
I watched this video on Instagram or TikTok or something. And basically, it says you put the rice in a strainer and then you just pour boiling water over it. And the boiling water reheats the rice and makes it moist. And I'm telling you, it works perfectly.
that's
Perfectly.
true. Okay, getting the best food tips from Guy Kawasaki.
I, I
So
give you, okay, I'll give you another one that works, because like sometimes I wake up at 4 in the morning and I just watch Instagram reels for about an hour. Another great tip is, let's say you're frying eggs and you want the yolk to be, a little firm, not raw, but you don't want to flip it over because, all right. So what you do is you get it so that the yolk, I mean not the yolk, the white
like what?
part is all kind of firm already.
Mhm.
And then you pour about half a cup of water into the frying pan and you cover the frying pan. And the steam cooks the yolk. And it's perfect.
Yes, this I can 100% applaud. No, put my voice behind this tips also, because I think I've seen the same TikTok. Uh, because it went wrong to me also, and I tried it, and yeah, yeah, 100%. If you have any in the other part of the other end of the range, like the worst idea you had, do you have any bad ideas? By the way, maybe you don't.
Let's see. What have been some of my most stupid ideas? I think I have selective memory here. I've blocked them all out. I mean, I know I did stupid things, but
Yeah,
well, I
but
quit Apple twice and I turned Steve Jobs down for another job. So that's three
okay.
stupid things. Oh, I also I had the opportunity to interview for the CEO position of Yahoo. I would have been the first CEO of Yahoo. So I figured that cost me 2 billion too.
Okay, so I appreciate that you are not just full of good ideas. That makes my own bad ideas better. So thank you for that. But uh, if we go to your podcast a bit about that, because there is a lot of amazingly interesting people that are guests on your. How do you get all these people?
Well, well, there's several ways, but it starts off with At the very early days of my podcast, my first podcast guest was Jane Goodall. And once you get Jane Goodall, everything else is easy because every other potential guest looks at who you had and say, oh my God, Guy had Jane Goodall. I got to be on this podcast. So that's number
Yeah.
one. Number two is that whenever famous people have written a book, they're looking for any way to get attention on it. And
Mm.
so they're very easy to book when they are introducing a book. Like, right now, if you call up Michelle Obama, you're not going to get her. But if she's coming out with a book, you might, right? So
Yeah.
it's a matter of just getting in the flow where book PR firms and book PR people are contacting you asking if their famous author can be on the podcast. And that's the richest vein. But I'm telling you, it starts with you get Jane
Jane
Goodall
Goodall.
as your first guest. Life is good after that.
I think, but I think having Guy Kawasaki on might also be quite good. So
I
I hope
I
it will.
I hate to burst your bubble, but I am no Jane Goodall.
I that I can agree on. But if you look at the podcast and then that is your greatest piece of work and it has influenced your book, which is basically, okay, this might be a surprise or not, but I got diagnosed with ADHD 2.5 years ago. And even in spite of that, I think that's correct. Yes. In spite of that, I listened to your whole book in one sitting.
Wow.
And
What?
yeah, yeah, because it's amazingly like there is no like dead parts where you have to wait or, okay, now it's exposition before we get to anything. But
Wait. Isn't you're saying you listen to the whole book? Isn't that like 20 hours?
can see exactly how long it was. I listen to all my in 1.5 speed because I think everything else is too slow. That is the part of the ADHD. Still, yes, it took some time, but it was a really good. Do you say read when you have read it? It's
Yes.
no, it's five 5 hours.
5 hours
Yes,
regular speed.
yes, or maybe 5 hours is with a increased speed, but it was very good.
Wow.
So
That's the highest form of praise I've received for the book.
it's 100 million% from the heart because it's like a lot of the things you talk about also in the book, both with the growth mindset, how to you have something on grit, like enduring. I don't know if that's like to get stuff done,
Yes.
which I really enjoy. And it's very liberating for someone that has had this ADHD thing, which has prevented me from doing a lot of shit. And now, I'm sorry about language in Norway, but I realize that it is in the US. But you have so many moments that I can recognize and implement, which I think is amazingly fun.
Yeah, I am familiar with ADHD, and I am pretty familiar with neurodiversity in general. And I gotta tell you something, there's no right or wrong. There's just people are different. And
Yeah.
um, I mean, for one thing, I think that successful tech entrepreneurs, they are all on some spectrum. I
Yes.
guarantee you. I guarantee you they are on some spectrum. You need to be on one of these spectrums to be successful as a tech entrepreneur. So, yeah, you're not going to get any pushback from me on this.
But when writing, can I ask a bit about your process for writing also?
Okay.
Because my thoughts here have been that you have done this podcast for quite some time.
5 years.
And then that's very long for a podcast, really. I think you have to make 21 episodes to be in the top 1% of all podcasts.
Really? That's all?
Yeah. Yes.
21 and you're in the top 1%?
Yes.
Wow. You mean people give up really fast?
Yes.
Well, I've
They
done
don't have the.
250.
Yeah, yeah,
You,
yeah.
you know,
So
you have ADHD. I have OCD.
yes, that's something I I gravitate towards people with some sort of OCD or OCD-like symptoms so that I can lean on that and I can push those people to do more stuff quicker. But writing of the book, has that, how has that process been since you have so much raw material kind of?
Yeah. So what happened was that, we had so much material. We have 250 hours of episodes. We have 5,000 pages of transcripts. So we figured out that nobody's going to listen to that. I mean, and nobody's going to read all that. So Madison and I, we printed the entire transcript, like 4,000 pages. It was binders and binders, and we read every transcript, and we looked for instances where people were giving their like strategies and tactics, not just BSing and stuff. So we looked for all the instances of strategies and tactics, and then we put a little post-it note on that and highlighted it. And then we took all of that and we put it together and we tried to sort it by subject.
Yeah.
So like, we would find the word grit, and then we would actually, we did both the printouts and we did digital search. So we created a document that had all 5,000 pages, and we searched for the word grit. And we look, Angela Duckworth mentions grit, and, I don't know, Margaret Atwood mentions grit, and Bob Cialdini mentions grit, and Jane Goodall mentions grit. So we look at everybody, what they said about grit, and then everybody growth, and then everybody, we did all that and we put it all together. And that's what it took to write this book.
How do you said you put it up in a document? What kind of, do you use any sort of tools? Did you use Canva? Did you,
No,
how do you do this?
I think we hit the theoretical limit of Google Docs.
Okay.
I can't remember what we did, or we hit the theoretical limit of Microsoft Word, but we hit some kind of theoretical limit. So we had to find docs or Word so we can put 4 or 5,000 pages in it. And
Yeah, because that, please continue.
no, you go ahead.
Yeah, because I'm thinking you have all this work that should be like structured into something. So then you get the themes and you have all these themes to hook things onto. And then what is your process of actually writing it? Like, do you sit down? Now it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I sit down, I write till 4, and then I go
Well,
do
so
your thing.
my process was that as we're doing this analysis of all the transcripts, after we did that, I spent about 6 months making an outline of the book.
Mhm.
And, talking about OCD, I love tricolons. So I determined the book would be divided into 3 parts, which is growth, grit, and grace, which is not only a tricolon, it's alliteration. A-
Mm.
And then I
So,
and then I
yeah.
figured out, well, then, a tricolon on the tricolon, we have to have 3 chapters in 3 sections. So now that's 9 chapters. And I hate when I read business books and it goes like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages without a heading. You forget what the hell you're reading about. So my book has a lot of headings, and it has a lot of subheadings, and it has a lot of bullet lists. And continuing on the theme of OCD, I wrote the book in Word, and I'm a power user of Word, and I switch between the print view and the outline view. So I can switch to the outline view, and every heading 1 is a header. Every heading 2 is a subheader. And so I can compress or collapse the outline, and I can see every heading and every subheading. So I know it's absolutely parallel structure. Everyone starts with a verb. Um,
Yeah.
and then I just sit down and I just write.
Okay, and now I understand more because that, to see the structure on the left hand side, I presume then. Okay, that must be even inspiring to actually do the job. Because lately I've been thinking, because there is very high comorbidity between ADHD and autism spectrum disorder, which is it's named now. And so I really much enjoy making the systems. So just you explaining that title structure was amazingly satisfying to
You
listen
know,
to.
I have lots of friends who are authors. And, they tell me, well, I'm writing my book in Google Docs. I say, what the hell are you talking about? How can you possibly write a book in Google Docs? And then, at the end, they send a big Google Doc to their publisher, and the publisher has to basically break it into sections, right? Because
Yeah.
you cannot just pour Google Docs into whatever inline design or whatever you use to produce the books, whereas inline design can take Word style sheets. So my whole book
And
is a style sheet. So if you really want, I can send you my Word style sheet, because many authors are telling me they use Google Docs, or they use this other kind of thing, or each chapter is a separate file. I say, what, you guys are nuts. Let me send you my
yeah.
Word doc, and then you can just copy my structure.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yes, please. Oh, just listening to how you thought around I really like the triage and like having 3 and 3. Yeah, because I find it to be maybe even motivating to write because it's structured. But the ADHD part of me, not I makes me not always manage to actually do it, but I really much want to. Yeah, so it's fun. And that's one of the things that I saw that kind of inspires me to do more things, or more things of the things I think I'm good at. But I wanted to ask you, which things can inspire you in everyday life?
Ah, man, I gotta admit, you might not like this answer, but I'm not. I cannot tell you this like romantic notion that, oh, the beautiful sunset or the beautiful sunrise inspires me. Um,
Hmm.
Basically, continuing on the story of OCD, I wake up in the morning, and after I get past my waste of time, which is checking email and checking social media, once I sit down to do something, I don't need any inspiration. I don't need beautiful sunset, sunrise. I don't need music. I don't need anything. I just need a freaking Macintosh, and I can work I could work on Southwest Airlines, row 35, center seat. I mean, I don't need inspiration. I just grind it out.
But I think the grind in itself is inspirational to you to get the job done. Because that's what I reckon. Because I don't need any of that sunrise, sunset, whatever. And I find it to be odd when people need all this external motivation, because making the thing, that's the goal in itself. It's not all these other things, in my mind at least, to be able to just do what I said.
Yeah.
I That's quite inspirational, if you ask.
I I used to have this practice that whenever I started a book, I bought a new Macintosh. I mean, it was like to celebrate. This is the launch of a new book. Um,
Mm.
I gotta tell you, yesterday I was where did I go? Oh, I went to you know what Costco is?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So yesterday I went at Costco, and I had never seen a M4 iPad before. And good old Costco has a M4 iPad, and there's like a really truly integrated keyboard. And if
Yes.
you didn't know it was an iPad, you would think, oh, it's just a Macintosh. I mean, the mouse, everything, I mean, not the mouse, the
Mhm.
cursor, everything works the same. I almost bought one just to celebrate, but
Mm.
I'm tempted. I was tempted.
I think you should. There is a podcast called Cortex. I always recommend that because they talk about actually being podcasters, YouTubers, and creating content. And they always talk about this multi-pad lifestyle because they're actually off it right now. But they used to talk about how can you run your whole life with no computer, just with iPads. It was quite interesting, the project, but I like my Mac. I like my iPad, but for totally different things, of course. But I think it's fun to try to limit yourself and then see what can you actually do within those limitations that you set for yourself. Of
Yeah. Yeah. By any chance, do you use Descript?
course,
Yeah.
I like it very much.
Yeah. But see,
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons why I cannot convert to iPad is because I'm very heavy user of Descript,
yeah.
and I don't think they have an iPad version.
Yeah, you should send them an email. I have an inkling that if you send them an email, there might be a like on the horizon because I would, yeah, I would move because the iPad is so powerful now that you could most likely run it without any problems.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But do you have any qualities in others that you find inspiring? No.
I just love people who have grit and who try
Yeah.
new things. So but I mean, as I said, the book is written in 3 sections. So you can imagine, I like people who have a growth mindset, have a grit mindset, and are gracious and graceful. So, that to me defines a remarkable person: growth, grit, and grace.
Yeah. I have to say the grace part, I don't feel that as much as the two others. I would like to be able to have more of that, but I'm one of those I am one of those people that when for instance, I write an email and then I have to remember to put some human in the smarten end because otherwise they come off as really, yeah, not very full of
But
grace to put it
you know
lightly.
what? I mean, check back when you're 65 or 70 and you'll have achieved grace. Grace comes with age. Yeah.
Because there is hope yet.
Yeah, there is hope.
Okay.
Don't
I'll
worry about it. You're worrying too early.
think. Now I'll try with some quick fire questions. Rapid
Okay.
fire, is it? Yeah.
Okay.
Your most marked characteristics. I mean, Hallgeir, figure it out. Your most not. This is not rapid fire at all, Hallgeir. You have to. Let's see. This will be gone totally in post. I will say, but your most marked characteristic. Yes,
If
perfect.
my most marked characteristic of me,
Of you,
I love to work hard. I love work.
what quality do you most like in another person?
Intellectual honesty.
Ooh, I like that. What do you value in a friend?
Intellectual honesty.
Do you have any principal defects?
Ah, I am impatient. I am impatient and I have very high expectations of people.
That's really good one. I think that's something you could answer on like a job interview, I think. So, what is your favorite occupation except the ones you have or have had yourself?
You mean what occupation or profession do I admire that I have not done?
Yes.
Teaching. Teaching.
What is your dream of happiness?
I'm
Like, how do you
living my
picture?
dream of happiness. I have a loving wife. I have 4 loving children. I surf every day. I'm doing a podcast that I love. I write when I want to write. I mean, I turned on almost all travel and all speeches now. My life is pretty much perfect, except I'm not that great a surfer.
I think maybe that question is meant for someone younger and less accomplished, maybe. But yes, perfect. What do you see yourself would be your greatest misfortune?
Y- y- okay, this is gonna get a little morbid. Okay.
Yeah, okay, we like morbid,
Um,
maybe.
well,
More.
2 things. One is, as I get older, I do not want to be a burden on my family. That's number one. And number two, I never ever want to bury a child. I want to die before all of them.
Yes, I can absolutely understand that. My grandfather I spoke to yesterday. I've yeah. My mom died 2 years ago, and in her funeral, my daughter then 8 years old, and my grandfather then 88, both had speeches, which was so insanely. She turned 65 just before she died, and was, yeah, you could see in the man that something whittled away, which, yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
How would you like to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as someone who empowered people. I want to empower people to make a difference. And I did this with my writing, my speaking, my podcasting, my advising, and my investing.
I think you're yeah, I think you were there already. So that's great.
I can take it easy now.
Yeah, again, chill. But yeah, what country would you like to have lived if you haven't lived there already? Yeah. Are there
uh,
any countries you've yet to live in?
well, I gotta tell you, I think Norway has the best sushi. So that,
Actually,
what city do you live in Norway?
I live in Stavanger,
Let's see. I don't even.
where
Have you ever
it's
been to? Have you ever been to a sushi restaurant called Alex's Sushi in Oslo?
no, I haven't. I want to go, but we have the only sushi restaurant, at least in this part of the country, with a Michelin star in Stavanger.
Wow.
Uh, they have just 10 seatings, like ten
Yeah.
places, and
Yeah.
like half a year wait to get the table. It's
Wow.
not even people. You get to sit by the counter with
Yeah.
the chef, 10 people, and they make the food and they serve it and talk to you. So if you want,
Yeah.
you can
So
Stavanger, I can take.
So let me answer the question slightly differently, which is I would love to live for a little while in Japan. I would love to live for a little while in Canada. I would love to live for a little while in Australia. But fundamentally, I am very happy to live in
Mm,
America. Now,
yeah,
you need to check back with me on November 7th, because on November 7th, I may change my mind because I see an absolutely existential threat to the America that I know and love. And
yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen on November 7th. And, it's a turning point for the United States.
Yeah, and it's also what I find to be creepy is that it's so uncertain that I wouldn't put my money on it either way either, and that's also a bit scary.
Yeah.
So I do not envy that. There are other things to envy, of course, but actually that uncertainty, I would say, I do not envy at all. No.
Yeah.
What's your favorite color? A bit easier question, maybe.
Orange.
Orange.
Yeah.
Favorite writer, except yourself, maybe.
Favorite writer. Fiction or nonfiction?
You can choose whatever you like to read.
I would say, I would say, um, Bob Cialdini. Bob Cialdini, the guy who wrote Influence. I loved his book.
And now also the newer book, Pre-Influence. No, Pre-Influence. I'm listening to that
It's
right
called
now.
Persuasion.
Persuasion. Yes, something with pre. But yeah, I really love him also. So that's cool. Do you have any favorite fictional heroes?
No,
No.
no, I really don't. I'm not into science fiction and, Marvel comics and all that kind of stuff. So sorry.
You are 70, so I think that's okay. I think that was ageism, and I'm very sorry about that. Um,
That's okay. You're not in the
yeah.
United States. You can be ageist.
Do you have a favorite musician then?
Okay. Well, that's another funny thing because about 3 years ago, I became deaf and I have a cochlear implant. And a cochlear implant, it lets you hear, poorly, but it's a miracle that you hear at all. So I don't listen to music because music does no music sounds good to me because of my hearing. So
Mm.
I never was a music kind of person before, and I certainly am not now.
Have you seen any of those death discotheques where you have no music, only bass, and everybody is just vibing and there is no sounds at all? It is really interesting to see. Really recommend
I,
Googling it.
I'm too old for that.
Do you have any, or have you had any heroes in real life?
Well, Jane Goodall is a hero for
Mm.
me. Absolutely.
What do you most dislike?
Intellectual dishonesty and stupidity.
Oh, yes, good.
And
Do you
there's
have
a
any?
lot to dislike now.
Yes. Oh, I would really like to delve more into that one because we could get cancelled over it. So let
It would be
um,
worth it.
what historical figures do you most despise,
Hitler,
except Hitler?
except
Let's
Hitler.
yeah, let's do except Hitler.
Um, well, I mean, there have been a lot of fascist dictators to dislike.
I think I have one big category of them, and you are allowed to say fascist dictators, fascist populistic dictators, or dictators wannabe. There you can encompass a lot of people if you want.
Well,
Um,
there's one in particular I'm worried about right now.
yeah, I figured. Uh, what natural gift that you do not possess would you like to possess?
Ah, okay. I don't know if it's a natural gift, but I would love to be able to cross step and hang 10 on the surfboard. Really,
That sounds
I
that sounds
spend
like
a lot of time trying to get to that point. More time than I probably write.
I get that. And then going back to a bit more morbid, how would you like to die?
I would like to fall asleep and never wake up.
And what vice do you have that you most like to give into, if any?
I love carbohydrates. I love carbs. I never met a carb I didn't like.
I've taken up baking the last couple of years. So I've been sourdough baking and since COVID. Yeah, I feel you. Thank you so much. That's
Your
question.
rapid fire questions are very good. It's usually not this interesting. That's very good. I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I looked at the questions that you get most of the time that Madison sent me, and I think I when I got going on it because of course my start was really nervous because you're Guy Kawasaki. I don't know it, but I was nervous, and then when it dawned on me that you're just a nice man, uh, pleasant to talk to, then I warmed up a bit and got going. But these rapid fire, the iterations of rapid fire questions, I have to tell you, it's been a long list of iterations to get where I am today, and I think I'm going to do some more iterations to get even better responses because for instance, the Hitler one, everybody says Hitler, so I've been thinking about taking it out
Which
and
one?
the one where everybody answers Hitler
Oh,
because it,
oh.
yeah,
Well, on 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 November 7th, you asked that again. It might change.
yes, I thought too. You know what? It was so
Okay.
amazing. Thank you so much
All
for
right.
doing
Thank
this.
you. All the
Yeah.
best. I hope we can have sushi someday.
Take care.
Okay. You take care. Bye bye.